This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch. We've all heard that before. Maybe it was a grandparent, a parent. Maybe we're passing that on to our own kids and grandkids. And what does this mean for our finances? How do we keep from counting our chickens before they hatch in our nest egg? See what we did there? Pretty cute. Well, you're going to find out today. Scott McLean and Financial Insanity. Out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. So, Scott, what do you think of when you hear don't count your chickens before they hatch as it applies to retirement income?
So not as it applies to my farm.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously you heard noise from our farm, but the neatest thing is, we all depend on income coming in when you're in retirement or nearing retirement. I had a phone call today from a couple that just moved to Green Cove Springs, Florida, and this couple is trying to plan the retirement. So counting your chickens before they hatch we definitely want to have a nice income. But what if something happens? What if you get sick and disabled what if you retire? What if you get fired? When we talk about Social Security, of course, are you thinking about, well, what if my spouse takes it first and I take mine later? Great option. But on the other side of the coin, when you're thinking about taking your Social Security, what if your spouse dies and you lose that option? So when you're planning for Social Security, Alex, the biggest challenge I find is they don't look at holistically I call it the three-legged stool: your Social Security, your current investments, and your retirement investments, or maybe your pension. And you must really delve into questions like that when you're planning your retirement, because you're trying to count your chickens before they hatch. But what if something happens? So you need to ask a lot of different variables. I think this is very, very important, Alex.
Absolutely. And Scott, when we're talking specifically about Social Security and now not counting your chickens before they hatch, the easy thing to think about is the cost of living adjustment. And this is made each year. And I hear you laughing. And
It's going up.
Yeah. Well, we got an estimate from the Senior Citizens League. And no, that's not, the softball league or anything. But there could be a 9.6% increase in Social Security payments next year. But we don't want to just assume that and make plans based on that, right, Scott?
No, I would run the numbers just for giggles. I would really think about 7 to 9%. Now they're saying about 8.7 or perhaps 9. So again, counting the chickens for the hatch. Just be glad they have Social Security. Be glad that if you're taking it now, you're getting Social Security. But use that in your numbers if you want. Just use a quick thing. Maybe an extra average is about an extra $150 plus or minus the $10. It's about $150 is the average.
Well, and there's still a lot of data to be collected, and before that official COLA is announced, so that could all go down. And as far as counting on Social Security for income, I mean, how much should we be counting on that as we move forward?
Well, you need to really, if you're listening right now, grab yourself a pen, paper, or pencil. If you simply go to Social Security, you need to know your numbers. I could throw all sorts of numbers out there, but that'd be like a doctor giving you a prescription for a ailment you don't have. But I think the first part is to really go to socialsecurity.gov, and it's called My Account. You can actually log in if you haven't done it before and watch your numbers, watch your income. They could be wrong. My Social Security. Go Google that. Download the information. You can get your report right away. And I think this is very important for those of you that are divorced. And maybe you should take your husband's or your wife's, or I should say your significant other, prior significant other, take their Social Security. So should you or shouldn't you take their Social Security and let yours be delayed? This is very important. This report, go to mysocialsecurity.gov. I think it's called socialsecurity.gov and then my account. Download that report. If you can't get your report, you need to call Social Security. You need that report before you start counting your chickens, as we spoke about, because you could be way off. Your report could be wrong. Very important.
If you have questions, Scott may have answers for you. You can reach Scott and his team, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Another area here where this lesson comes into play on how your retirement income is going to be taxed. Don't want to necessarily look at account balances and assume that's the amount we get to spend in retirement. Tell us, Scott, taxes, the impact that's going to have on retirement.
Alex, this is so important if you're listening right now, why your advisor should be looking at your tax returns or asking you questions on an annual basis. Why? Because one year your Social Security may not be taxed at all because of the marginal tax bracket. And the Social Security could be totally tax-free, and then all of a sudden you hit a wonderful age, let's say 72, you've received tax-free Social Security, and now because you're taking your required minimum distributions from your investments, it's now taxed up to, drum roll please, that's right, 85%. 85% it can be taxed up to. This is why the tax returns is critical to look at when you're planning heading into retirement or while you're in retirement. And this is not an Einstein deal. It's it's very simple, especially if your advisor's been doing it for years. I'm sure a tax preparer has been doing taxes for years, but their job is not to guide you. Their job is to do the taxes. This is where your financial advisor, preferably a fiduciary that's looking for your best interest. If you're not, you're looking in the wrong neighborhood. And for those do-it-yourselfers, you need to pay attention to Social Security and how it's taxed. Now, to put the whole picture together, like you said, Alex, you've got your 401k, 403b, perhaps you have a 457. Maybe you have a defined contribution plan. How is that taxed? That's called ordinary income. So when you're pulling money out of those vehicles, perhaps you have other vehicles, let's say a non-qualified account, a joint account, maybe money you've been saving on the side. When you design your retirement for efficiency, tax efficiency, as well as less taxation, perhaps your spouse's lights are going dim, which account should you use? Perhaps your spouse is now disabled and you're pulling money to pay for a in-home nursing. You see, Alex, how many choices there are. So I'm talking on the radio to you listeners right now. I'm speaking to you because you have choices to make, and everybody is not cookie cutter. I hate financial planning shows where they give you what to do, but everybody's not the same. You know, if you want some ideas or some thoughts or some concerns, please don't put this off, because when you make a choice for Social Security, when you turn on your pension plan and make choices for pension, when you start pulling money out of your accounts, which account do you pull it out from? This is why it's important. Write this down. This is, please do yourself a favor. Write this down. Ready? 609-488-4646. Write this down. 609-488-4646, because I'll be able to help guide you. You give me a call off the air. You're making a decision to retire. You look at all your investment accounts and how, where, how much do you pull out of your accounts so you can minimize taxes.
Well, and Scott, the whole topic today, talking about not counting chickens before they hatch, is all about not making assumptions, not assuming you're going to be okay or that you're going to be, not okay. And
You're right.
And this is where, Scott, bringing in a professional, whether it's a first or a second or a third opinion, but just that you don't want to make these assumptions. And you alluded to it, but there's just so many details and so many codes and so many rules, and tax rates change all the time. And how do you stay ahead of these things? And so you're not just being reactive. And these are all things that you can either think about, or you can invest some time with someone to think about that for you.
Well, Alex, you said the word reactive, and I think that's a very powerful question because most of us are reactive. It's like I want to go get something in the store. You go to McDonald's, you buy food that's maybe not that healthy for you. You're reactively going to fill your hanger tank. Or I think my daughter calls me sometimes when I don't eat. You want to make a quick answer, but that quick answer could cause more ailments, more challenges, more problems. So you want to be proactive, not reactive. And this is a big point. Counting your chickens before they hatch. Well, things do change. So you could plan now, but maybe later on in life, another 2 or 3 months, all of a sudden, I'll give you a case in point that your child has taken sick, and I'm not being doom and gloomer here early in the morning, but your child has taken sick, and perhaps maybe now you have to take care of the grandkids. Maybe now your retirement has changed. Maybe now you are putting the grandkids, and now you're raising the grandkids. I know I have several clients like this. They're about to retire, and all of a sudden now they become, I should say parents, but now they're grandparents. But now the tax return changed because now they have some different exemptions. This is not a set it and forget it deal. This is not a deal where your advisor meets with you one time and over the phone or on Zoom or in person, and you're done. This is a plan that's fluid. Alex, we spoke in one of our shows about a financial plan. Anytime you put a financial plan is, to me, ridiculous if it's for your life, because it's not stagnant. It's for that point in time, and then that's set. But things change. So a financial plan, you pay a financial planner to put a plan together. And today the plan looks wonderful, but 6 months down the line, the plan has changed. You pay all that money, but life has changed. This is why I think it's crazy to put a financial plan and put a period at the end of that word financial plan, because it is a moving target. Life is a moving target, as we all know.
Scott welcomes you to try that number. Also, if you would rather go to the website, it is simply the phone number with .com at the end. So 609-488-4646.com.
How simple is that?
Pretty darn easy. And you are listening to Financial Insanity, out of the box thinking for your financial sanity. More with Scott coming up.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
And when you pay down debt, you don't pay down the highest interest rate. The biggest mistake is you pay the highest interest rate card when you should do the snowball effect of paying down debt.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us for Financial Insanity. You know, it's easy to make assumptions about what goes into a legacy plan. Scott McLean going to help make it clear for you as we dive into some of the basics of creating a lasting legacy for your family. It's so important to so many of us. And if you have questions, that number is 609-488-4646 for Scott McLean and McLean Advisory Group, located in Waretown. 609-488-4646. And Scott, I do want to go over some basics because I know you deal with this all the time, but you know, I want to make sure people understand what the main things are here when we're talking about this legacy. So what are some important things to be thinking about?
You know, in creating a legacy, we call it the 3D approach to your financial planning: the dreams, the dollars, the investments, and the dynasty. And this, we're talking about dynasty right now, and I appreciate you asking that. I appreciate you guys listening to us at our radio station for now, I don't know, 14, 15 years right now.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to be clear on your dynasty, your legacy. Number one, the biggest challenge I find out when I do workshops, seminars, or when I meet clients, when George meets clients, or our financial advisors meets clients, is number one, they haven't dusted off their legal documents. They shove them in the drawer or their vault or their bank, and they don't read them. And that's problem number one. Problem number two, they forgot to double check what the lawyer wrote. They're trusting the lawyer wrote it up correctly, and he or she probably did. But when we review the legal documents once a year, did you hear me? Once a year, because maybe your son or your daughter is the executrix. Maybe they're the power of attorney. But maybe they died. Or maybe their health went south and you didn't change it. Or maybe the attorney didn't give a backup in case something happens to them. I can tell you, when George came to me the other day and we looked at some legal documents, I said, George, where's the backup? He goes, Scott, I can't find it anywhere. Let me see the darn thing. I don't believe you. And that George is a brilliant kid. I said, George, you're right. Did they wear that? Well, I just got it. They just dropped it off. I wanted to review it for them because they're investing with us, but I wanted to make sure they're buttoned up on our areas. If you don't review your legal documents, and I say once a year, not with your lawyer, but at least with your financial advisor, the reason people meet with their financial advisor, Alex, is because pretty much they're the ones who are going to get the first phone call. Say, where's my money? What's going on? How do I get money out to take care of mom and dad? How do I take care of my children? And so, number one, your will, power of attorney, living will, healthcare directive, or maybe if you want to protect your money from the crows and the clowns, I call that the people that want to grab your money at the day you check out, or maybe your lights are dim and the nursing home wants to get it. This is why people call us and they come in so often because of this radio station, WBNJ. And when they come in, we review the legal documents in light of, you're clear, their financial planning and their financial instruments, because this is a problem. So again, you want to make sure you review the will, power of attorney, living will, healthcare directive. Maybe you have a Q-tip trust for those of you who are living with someone and you want to let them stay in your house. Maybe you have an irrevocable trust to protect the house from the nursing home. This planning is so strategic to you listening right now. You might think, well, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm fine. Okay, great, tough guy. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But you never know when somebody pulls over. Maybe you get a heart attack, or maybe they go to the doctor and get a checkup, or you get a blood test and all of a sudden, I don't say a cuss word. Maybe, that's right. Something came up. Guys, take care of this legacy planning. This is the dynasty you're passing on. And how you pass it on could be extremely taxable or extremely tax-free, in addition to taxes as legacy. So, Alex, I hope that sums up for you out there. By the way, if you've got a question, I have answers. George has answers. Our firm has answers. You know, being in the business now over 43 years, Alex, we've got a lot of people to call. We know who to call. And if you have an attorney, we'll call your attorney. We'll have a conversation. If we're doing finance with our firm, we're going to really make sure you, your spouse, your kids, or maybe your charity is buttoned up to keep it away from the IRS or from the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral.
Well, and that's why it's so important, Scott, as we're talking about creating this lasting legacy, to have a strategic legacy plan. If you could talk about just the benefits there, because there could be some, costly missteps, some overtaxation and other things if you're not strategic about this.
Let me give you a hint, Alex. Imagine you have a 401k, those people listening. Maybe you have a 403b. Maybe you have a 457. And you're married, and your spouse gets the goodies. But maybe you didn't put down the children. So let me tell you what happens. Or maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend. But you don't put them down as beneficiary. What happens in this case, 9 times out of 10, you pass away, but your wife or spouse died. So they're out. That's called the contingent. Who gets it next? And here is the problem. The money goes to the estate. The estate now has the money. They have to cash it in, and then they pass it on to the beneficiaries in the will. That could cause 100% taxation to the beneficiary. Let me make it real clear. Rather than the 10-year stretch, they call you can get the money, and you can take the money out over 10 years, which would reduce the contingent beneficiary's money. But if you don't pay attention to the taxes in addition to the beneficiaries, or maybe the financial advisor didn't ask these questions, shame on them, not you, because he or she, the financial advisor, if you're using one, shame on them. They should have looked at it. I know they're not a lawyer. Why would a financial planner look at the taxes? Why would they look at the legal? Because it's part of our process as a fiduciary. But here's the blessed thing. Imagine it going to your sweetie pie, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, because maybe your wife or your husband died. Maybe you have someone you're living with. You want to pass it on, and they're not on there. Do you want to avoid the instantaneous tax? Or can we do it? We've done this, Alex, before, where the person received over $800,000 and it was 100% taxable. Thank goodness they came to us, because we're able to work around the laws, making some phone calls, and how can we avoid this tax nightmare, because the IRS is pretty clear. By the way, if you're out there and you haven't reviewed and dusted off your legal documents, please do yourself, your spouse, your kids a favor. And write this down. This is very important. 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. Give our studios a call. We'll schedule a phone call. Maybe you have to come in and meet with our office. That's fine. But let's make sure you're buttoned up. And the reason we do this, Alex, is we want people to love us to death here. You know, over 40-something years in the industry, I can tell you one thing very clearly to you guys out there. Our firm continues to grow on warm introductions. Maybe you didn't do business with us, but I can tell you, when you come into our office, when you meet with us, you're going to feel treated right at home. We're going to make you feel right at home, whether you're a client or not, because we're not here to sell you. Hide your checkbook, hide your wallet, but come in with your questions. Write them down. Don't waste your time. Let's get right to the nitty-gritty so your dynasty, your legacy passes on. Your kids don't have to go to the courts to fix things. We can fix them with just a few drops of ink on a piece of paper, and just by a signature, you could protect your estate. But if you don't, you've caused a tremendous nightmare. And that's why at our firm, we have the lawyers here. You don't have to use our lawyers, but we can review things. We can ask questions instantly. So if we have a problem, we don't understand it, we can take care of it. 609-488-4646. Don't put this off. We're heading into a new year. We're heading into another year. We're heading into 5 years from now, and you've been putting it off. Don't put this off. I'd love to hear from you. If we can help you, we will help you right here at McLean Advisor, right here, Waretown, New Jersey.
Well, and Scott, it's all about making sure what happens with your dollars after you pass, what happens with it is what you wanted. This is not the kind of thing to make assumptions. Like you mentioned earlier, oh, well, I filled that paperwork out years ago. It's good. No, pull that thing out. And that's why, working with somebody like you, you're going to do that. You're going to bust that out every year. You're going to look at those beneficiary designations. You're going to go through that paperwork and make sure it's all accurate, because it's a very important thing. If you would talk a little bit about your approach that your team takes, when it comes to estate and legacy planning, at what point does that come up with somebody's overall retirement plan?
I'm thinking of Josephine and Thomas that came into our office in 2017. I'll never forget meeting a beautiful, beautiful couple. And they had 4 beautiful kids, and we spoke about their estate, and they never reviewed their legal documents. So we did their financial, we looked at their taxes, and now we're looking at the legal, and found out the 4 children, they actually had 5. And as I read the will and the power of attorney, the power of attorney is the one that directs the medical decisions, and the power of attorney is the one that directs the financial decisions. Well, his wife, Josephine's, her lights got a little dim dim to the point that she couldn't take action. And I'm thinking about it, and I looked at the backup power of attorney, because Josephine was now unable to make good decisions. Her lights were flickering. In other words, going dim. In other words, she wasn't all there. And I'm not being unkind if you're out there listening to me. I'm very, very serious. And I love people to death. But I'll never forget talking to Thomas and finding out that their daughter had died. She was the backup to the mother. Now, who gets involved? They have to go to the courts now to put this in place. And my question to you out there, husband could do it, wife can do it. The question is, who's the backup? And the good thing is, we could take care of this. The bad thing is, it could delay the process. You see, when Thomas died and Josephine is still alive and her lights are dim, there was no backup. The challenge in 2020 became horrendous. It became an attorney's happiness because they get it now. Their taxi meter goes up. The billing starts. Are you paying attention to the legacy? This is your will, or maybe you have a revocable trust or irrevocable trust. Maybe you have beautiful documents, but they just haven't been reviewed. And so I find this so often, Alex, more than not, people don't pay attention. They think they're okay. Like a deer in the headlights, you're heading for a traffic accident. Fix this, guys. 609-488-4646. If you want to speak to me off the air, I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646. In our office, we'll set up a time we can have a discussion, Alex.
Yes, and that is Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. This is Financial Insanity, and coming up, some of the top legacy planning mistakes you want to try to avoid. That is on the other side.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us for another installment of Financial Insanity. I'm your host, Alex Dingman, alongside financial advisor Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group, talking about some important stuff today, creating a legacy plan for your retirement and your family. If you have questions, the number for McLean Advisory Group in Waretown, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And Scott, if you could, my friend, what are some basic documents that we probably want to consider for a good estate plan?
You know, a great estate plan is having a plan. That's number one.
Yeah.
Not just winging it, or I'll get to it, or I think about it, but I haven't done it. Number one, having a plan implemented, signed. The documents, number one is a will. Now, a will goes to probate. A will goes to probate. But a will is pretty much who gets the goodies. I call that real simple. The challenge I find inside the will, inside the goodies, is who's going to get it. And you may change it. You might have one son or daughter who's on the wrong side of the road. Maybe you need to get some trust agreement, which we'll talk about. The next one's called the living will. the living will, Alex, this is so important. It happened to my sister and I when Daddy was about to pass away. Mom said, "You guys handle it. Can't think about it." Mom was out of it.
Yeah.
And she said, "Scott, Sandy, my sister, handle it." Well, the living will says, do not resuscitate, don't pass go, don't collect $200, goodbye. Well, Sandy wanted to feed Dad, and I remember, Sandy, I had this piece of paper. Daddy wanted to just go. He don't want to be fed, and he didn't want to be fed, and so Sandy wanted to feed him one night, and I remember get that phone call, "I'm going to make Daddy comfortable." Her heart got involved, but her head left the paperwork. And I said, "Sandy, please don't. I don't want to have to send a piece of paper to the hospital. Please don't feed Daddy. By the way, Daddy's going to haunt you if you do. He wants to go home. He wants to see his parents."
Right.
So living will. Next one's called the trust. You know, Alex, I'm not going to go through all 10 different types of trust, but there's more different types of trust. Sure. A lot of different types of trust. For example, maybe you have a son or daughter who every time they get a dollar, they're going to spend $5. That's called a spend thrift trust. Maybe you have a special needs child and you want the money to go to the special needs child, but if they get it, they're going to lose benefits. Well, we need a special needs trust. Or maybe you have a testamentary trust. And so perhaps you want to avoid Medicare planning and Medicaid planning. Maybe you want an irrevocable trust. So each state is different. I know, Alex, this radio show goes across the country in several different places, but here at WBNJ Radio, the nicest thing is there are several trusts. Oh, by the way, I got to say something, Alex.
Yes.
I'm not an attorney. I work with a lot of attorneys. I know this business, but that's the attorney job. I want to make a clear disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you after reading so many documents, I want to make sure you that are listening to our show for 12, 13, 14, 15 years now, I can promise you, we want to make sure you're buttoned up. So you might want to trust. How do we protect our money? How can we possibly reduce taxes? How do we make sure the charity get it? The next one's called the power of attorney. This is the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake is the two different types of power of attorneys. Number one is called healthcare, the one who's going to talk to the doctors, make the arrangements. And the second one's called the financial power of attorney. I was a financial power of attorney for my mom and dad's estate. Sandy, my sister, was the healthcare power of attorney. So it was two of us. If Sandy passed away, there needs to be a contingent. This is where I find mistakes in the power of attorneys. There's usually always should be a contingent, but many times I've never seen a contingent. There's just one or the other. So the power of attorney, I believe everybody should have that across the board. If you've got kids 18 years or older, they need a power of attorney. I don't care if they have no money in their bank account. They need a power of attorney. And the last one is called the advance directive for healthcare reasons. What's the game plan? How are we putting this together? Again, we talk about the tremendous dreams you have because you're never going to get sick or die. The tremendous dollars you've saved because you're going to enjoy your wonderful retirement and travel the world and go here and there and everywhere. But then the next discussion is your dynasty. How do we make sure that all that hard work you, your spouse, your loved ones have saved over time, how do we make sure that's protected for your family, not the government or some crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral, Alex? So these are the documents. Please don't put this off. If you have more questions, 609-488-4646. You can ask for George. You can ask for Scott. You can ask my staff to get a hold of a quick phone call. We would love to help you and guide you along with your finances because they go hand in hand in addition to the tax returns to make sure you are totally buttoned up and your safety shield, your protection is in place, Alex.
Yeah, no, so important. And so, Scott, if I'm out here, I'm listening, what are some first steps? What do I need to do? I'm concerned. I want to do this right. I want to make sure I have a good legacy plan in place. What are some of the first action items, steps I should take?
The reason people don't do anything, Alice, because there's so many steps.
Right.
So let's break it down. I appreciate the simplest thing. Number one, have you read your documents? Do you have documents? And if you don't have documents, don't beat yourself up. Let's get it done. Number two, after you read through the documents, take a step. Maybe you have a free consultation at our firm or a firm. Usually lawyers are going to charge you. At our firm, we don't. You'll meet with myself or George. We are not attorneys, but we know what to look for. We know how to deal because we deal with finances. That's what we do. But we also deal directly with the attorneys, whether it's your attorney or someone else's. Number 3, I'd encourage you, I just thinking of this off the cuff. I'd encourage you, go to our website, 609-488-4646. Go to the book, Three Blind Mice, How the Financial Planning Process Leads Your Money to a Mousetrap, and download chapter 11. I walk through all the areas of this, Alex. I just was thinking about this. Holy mackerel. This could be a great read. It's very simple to read. It's not legalese, so I can't understand what the heck the lawyer is writing. All right, time out. You need to understand something, the basics. And this is why people love coming into our office, because we're going to walk you through this valley you don't want to talk about. Or maybe the kid says, I don't want to talk about it, Mom and Dad. I don't want to talk about you dying.
All right.
Well, we need to talk about your lights going dim, because usually it's dim and out. Hopefully it's quickly out like my dad. But the question is, do you have the documents we just spoke about? Do you have them in place? Maybe you need to get them in place and have someone review them. This is why when people come into us, Alex, we look at their dreams, their dollars, and then the dynasty. Let's see what happens if we're in your life as a financial advising office for now, 44 years now, going on 44. The question is going to be, where do we stand? How can we help you make sure that you're buttoned up in every area? Do we have to call your attorney? Do you want to use the attorneys we work with? It doesn't matter. We don't get paid for that. We're not attorneys. But we can tell you one thing. In the financial world, we need to know the area of taxes and legal documents for making sure your dynasty is protected. So again, step 1, I got a problem. I need to review it. Step 2, maybe you read a couple things, read your documents, pull them out of the shelf, pull them out of the bank vault, read them. Number 3, make an appointment. Maybe give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. Again, this is not just a sales gimmick. We're not going to charge you. This is totally complimentary. Maybe you're looking for a firm like ours. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're a financial advisor, didn't ever read them. To me, that's just double daggum dumb, because they should have paid attention to how the documents are, because most documents are incorrectly set up on beneficiaries. Let me make it real clear. Most all documents in the financial world are probably 9 times out of 10 are set up incorrect, because you think your will is in charge, but it's not. The documents, the financial documents, are number 1, the ace of spades, followed by the will. You know what? You want to avoid probate? 609-488-4646. I promise you're going to love when you visit our firm, and you're going to help understand what to do. Alex, I'm not sure if this is clear, but step 1, take care right now and make that decision. I need to review this.
Well, and Scott, one thing not to be overlooked, there can be some big tax consequences with these financial decisions, and it comes to legacy, inheritance. I mean, there's definitely some things you could do to better set yourself up for the future.
Depending on what president and what the laws are at the time, this is big. Understanding how taxes work about passing money on to the children. In the state of New Jersey, they had the gas tax, which eliminated the inheritance tax. So no reason to move to Florida for that reason. Maybe if you want to get warm and toasty, maybe you go to Florida or down south. But the other area is understanding the taxation, Alex. You brought up a great point of the estate planning. Maybe your money's going not to your children because maybe you don't have children. Maybe it's going to charity, and maybe it's going to maybe a close friend, relative, niece, nephew. Okay, if that's the case, wonderful. What's the taxation? And the next question is, maybe you're going to give money to a charity. You know what? I love it. It's better to give than receive. How about better to give and get more back? I wrote a paper on that for the churches. What a great way to pass on assets. So you want to use your IRA assets to pass on to the charity so they get it tax-free, even though, quote, it was taxable. Now it's tax-free. So again, if you've got charities, you do tax planning, in addition to legacy planning, looking at all the areas. And then we go into the medical planning. How do we hide the money or protect the money from the inevitable crows in the crowns, the medical department called the nursing homes and facilities. So this is really important when they say that. So your beneficiary designations, are they up to date? Your beneficiary designations, can we avoid taxes? Your beneficiary designations, can we avoid probate?
That is Scott McLean, founder of McLean Advisory Group, located here in Waretown, New Jersey, in beautiful Ocean County, helping you shore up your retirement future, going over creating a lasting legacy. And if you have questions, that number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. And when we come back, we will talk more and more about scams and other ways that we can help protect folks. But right now, we're going to take a pause. This is Financial Insanity.
What if you ordered a pizza, but when you opened the box, a couple pieces were missing? That would be upsetting, right? Now think about how much you believe you have saved for retirement. Do you still owe taxes on that money? If you do, that could take a big bite out of your nest egg. Financial advisor Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group understand the importance of tax planning and can help you reduce the impact that Uncle Sam has on your retirement. Give them a call today to start working on your retirement tax plan. 609-488-4646. Create a plan today so that you can get as many slices of your retirement pie as possible. Call Scott McLean at 609-488-4646 today and schedule your retirement tax analysis. That's 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities. Firm may not give tax advice.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
Oh, that's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
We talk a lot about the risks to your money in retirement. Wall Street Journal saying baby boomers' biggest financial risk, cognitive decline. Scary risk can rob you of your best judgment. Sometimes it can go even unnoticed for years. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and bring you a top 5 list for this week. Top 5 scams that you should be aware of, Scott.
Well, I don't know about you, and I just had someone in the office, and this lovely lady, 73 years old, was in the office and has a new friend, beautiful, beautiful gentleman, as he sat out in the lobby and we got through talking about it. And I called the romance scam. And obviously it's real. And when you think about the romance scam, of course, they perpetrate themselves as they got money and they want to go out, and who ends up paying the bills, and they end up having that area. On top of romance scams, I would like to throw in there, when you think about that, maybe kids who think they're so concerned about their mom and dad's money that maybe they think mom and dad have a lot of money and they can borrow the money. I think that's a scam as well. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I think these partners, romance scams, as you well indicated, these dating websites, these elderly victims, just to get your information. Be very careful of that. We all love relationship people. This is important. Now, Alex, you said there was another scam out there, the tech scam, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's something, and we see it all the time. Really, you can have text messages, you can have emails, but unfortunately, there's a lot of technology nowadays, Scott, and people can be reached so easily, and you never know how somebody maybe even got your information. But there's a lot of communication, and sometimes people can make it seem very real and something very relevant, and they can give you a lot of sense of urgency, and it's important to be aware of those kind of things happening as well.
Boy, that is so true. When I think about these tech scams, I remember when we do taxes, And these text scams, they turn into a phone call. Did you get you owe money on the government? You need to send us money. Or one of the close friends and clients, which obviously won't say their name, where they called me up and they were beside themselves, where they actually ran to Walmart and they wired money through Western Union of $5,000 because they heard their grandson was in trouble, got in a car accident, but they won't report it if they send them money because the grandson hit somebody, and they ended up almost dying. The woman is pregnant, now lost a baby. This is real. And she called me, the husband and wife called me, and they said, Scott, what do we do? And, I said, let's call your son right now and see about how their child's doing, your grandson. No, they told us not to call anybody or they're going to go ahead and press charges.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would believe that. Now, my clients are a little bit older. There's this couple. We're very close. And I looked at them in the eyes and said, we're calling your son right now. No, Scott, I don't want you to. I said, okay, we're going to call the police. They were in my office. We're going to call the police station right now to see if there's any accidents. And we did. I said, okay, Mr. and Mrs., let's say Jojo, we're going to call now your son. You should have seen his wife's face. Alex, I believe you. These scams are real. And they did not want to call because they're afraid it's real. We got the son on the phone because I forced them to do it. Oh, no, he's with his best friend right now. There was no car accident. These are real scams, whether it's from tax returns, such as the tech scams, the grandparent scams, usually trying to, which is the third scam you had mentioned to me when we were speaking before. Of course, they're faking out relative. And then we talk about the government. We talk about the taxes, the fourth scam.
And that's a big one, Scott. That's a big one because
huge.
Because they'll pick the right times too, whether it's tax season or whether they know it's open enrollment or whatever it may be. And that's when you'll get a call, and then it makes it seem very relevant.
The tax scam, Alex, I get this call every daggum year. And we have it in our folder when we do our tax returns for our clients. And we do a for our financial clients. It's a real expensive tax returns, like $110 we charge. We don't want to be a profit center. We want to help our people understand that. But one thing we found out is, okay, this is the IRS calling. You need to owe money. We don't want to put a lien on your account. And the IRS doesn't call people. It's like, wait a minute, whoa. Didn't we just tell you in the portfolio when you got your tax returns, there's a thing you may get a phone call. Don't expect a phone call. It says in there real clearly. So, and then the stimulus checks. I can't tell you how many calls we got because we do taxes for our clients, and the stimulus check.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Totally ridiculous. And you know what? I don't blame the older folks because they're sitting at home, they're watching their TV shows, they get a phone call, and fear is a tremendous motivator the older you get. And that, to me, your lights go dim, maybe your husband, your wife, your significant others taking care of you, and you're worried about them. And these scams, well, Alex, the sweepstakes scam, how about that one? Or the charity. I want to give money to the poor people, or this charity, or maybe like my friend, as I mentioned, one of your shows before we spoke about, my roommate in college is over in Poland helping Ukrainians, and he's there right now. But there's a lot of scams. I remember the scam about the Hurricane Sandy. Where did all that daggone money go? Ticks me off. And I think of all this illegitimate, quote, charitable organizations. This is a huge problem for the seniors out there. Guys, don't fall for it. And then you end up calling to your financial guy, hey, I need like my close friend, and Scott, we need to pull out $10,000 because our grandson got in a car accident I mentioned earlier. I said, no, I'll let you get your money, but we need to make some calls first. As a fiduciary, Alex, my job is to protect our clients the best I can. In every way I can. And if they don't want it, they can take their money and go to another advisor, because my job is to be, I call it in Ezekiel 33, the watchman, to oversee people's monies, to help them. You know what? This is a lost art. One thing, Alex, we didn't talk about, you could have kids out there trying to scam their parents.
Well, that would never happen, Scott. What are you talking about? There has never been a kid out there who's tried to get their parents' money when they didn't actually probably need it. What are you talking about? That would never happen.
It's crazy.
That would never happen. No. Well, and Scott,
I see that.
and I'm sure that you do, and you see it all. And you are somebody, if somebody's sitting out there and they're thinking, well, heck, is this a scam or what should I look out for? If you have questions, then Scott could maybe have some answers for you. If you want to give him a buzz, 609-488-4646. You can give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. Scott, since you deal with this a lot, are there some indicators that somebody might be dealing with a scammer?
Sometimes not. Sometimes they could be sounding so sincere, so realistic, you might not realize it. But then on the other side, basically they go to Google and they do a search online, and people who contact you. Or perhaps maybe you go online, you look up their phone number. If those seniors, people that are cognitively, they're going to be proactive, maybe you Google the phone number, see if it's a real phone number. And when I see people also really being proactive, is they want you to download stuff, and they want you to just click on this, and it leads you down the primrose path of being ripped off. And that internet thing, because a lot of seniors these days, more now than ever, are on the internet. They sit in there, maybe one person's watching a TV show and the other person's on the internet, and you get caught in this web of deception. And I think we've really never did this on a radio show in the past 10, 12 years, but this is a good segment, Alex. We talk about so many scammers they're trained. They know how to get your information, and then they get your voice, and they get it's almost right now, just like the thief in the night. Well, now they don't even have to go in your house. They're going to get it by the internet. So I think this is really, really a good topic of the scams. And again, the nicest guy, the nicest girl in the world, one of the flags, maybe they're good looking, they have a nice, sweet talking self, and maybe they're just trying to sell you something and get you involved in something, and they get your credit card, and and now you're spending time cleaning up this nonsense. So don't use your debit card. If you're going to buy things, use a credit card. The credit card companies are really helping out. They've been a big insulator. I would never use a debit card. And by the way, it happened to my sister, where her daughter is on my sister's account, and she started buying stuff, and she started adding to the credit card, which my sister is in her name, and she allowed her daughter to use it.
What could go wrong?
All of a sudden, she sees charges. My goodness. And she got taken to the cleaners. And I won't say what I did, but I can tell you, I see this from a firsthand position to my clients, and I just disturbs me, especially in the field I was heading in. How do I protect our clients as a fiduciary, as a protector of our clients? And I think this is really important, Alex. 609-488-4646. Our staff will put you on the call log. We'll follow up. 609-488-4646. And if we can help somebody, obviously we're a financial firm. We're not the fraud detection firm. I'll make that real clear. If we can hear some phony things going on, we will probably either post it on the web, 609-488-4646.com. And you can see for some helpful tips, if we have any at that time, of things that are happening.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.